Tinubu's government is planning to send a committee to the United States over the alarm that is being raised by the Western media on the genocide going on in Nigeria. Shebi, they said no Christian genocide is happening. Now, Akpabio is planning to send a committee to the United States, possibly to go speak to, the United States government and to tell them that there is no genocide. But see, we are living in a global world where internet shares the information automatically. So there's no way they will convince the United States that Christians are not being killed in Nigeria, because we have a whole lot of videos and images of all what has been happening in Nigeria. Take, for instance, in places like Benue, where churches have been shut down, people have left their communities for IDP camps, and strangers have come in to take over their communities. What do you call that? These are mostly Christians that are being displaced. Now they live in the IDP camps, and the current administration has done nothing to bring back these people back to their original homes. So guys, what do you term this? We have seen Reverend Fathers being kidnapped, being tied, even after collecting ransom. We've seen that in places like Southern Kaduna, where being a Christian is like something else. They kidnap this Reverend Father, they invade seminary and all that. Now, there's a whole lot. The only problem with the Tinubu's government is not as if it started with the Tinubu's government, but the only problem is what steps have you seen Tinubu's government taken in addressing insecurity in Nigeria? This is a country where recently a woman was spied because she's a Christian. They say she said something blasphemous against the prophet. Just any little thing, they say you've blasphemed the prophet, and that can just lead to the person being spied. And nobody is saying the Constitution should cover all this. Nobody is raising such a bill on the floor of the Senate. People are quiet. And now they want to go to the United States. Instead of saying, okay, let's sit down and see if we can bring up bills that can protect Nigerians from just being lynched because maybe somebody perceived they said something against the prophet or any of that. Nobody is citing others, but at least let's do things in a great way. Now, I'm just going to allow you to take a look at this video, but finally, they must be panicking. Shebi, they said the US has no right to say this or that. Now, they want to send a delegate to the United States. Let me know your thoughts on this, and as I allow you to take a look at this video.
Akpabio questioned how anyone could differentiate victims by religions after attacks, emphasizing that violence affects all Nigerians equally.
If you look at what is happening in the Southeast, predominantly Christians, most of those that are killed in the Southeast, including the late husband of our demise icon, Dora Akunyili, the way the man was shot dead and everything, will you come and ascribe that to religion? I'm talking about what IPOP is doing. You see brothers killing brothers. Okay, so the sit-at-home that is going on Mondays in the Southeast that has almost crippled the economy of the Southeast, is it targeted at Christians or Muslims? So Nigeria has complex security situations, and we should actually go out there and educate people, because the moment they bring sanctions to breed poverty, poverty knows no religion. So for me, engagement will be the best. So when we go into executive session, we can decide to set up a small ad hoc committee to go to the United States of America and engage our colleague parliamentarians there. And then to also educate them. Because if you see what these people are doing, most of them are outsiders. When they come and start spraying bullets from GP, or what do you call it, or they throw rocket, they are not throwing rocket into the crowd targeting a particular religion. They are killing Nigerians. I don't know who will now go and sit down and bring up maybe the dead bodies and say, this one is a Christian, this one is from this family, this must be a Muslim. So we are facing a situation whereby these terrorists are trying to terminate the lives of Nigerians. No, I was about to look at your side, because I think a lot of herbalists have also been killed in the. Is there anybody that is opposed to this motion? Okay.
All right. Every Nigerian life matters, including herbalists, according to Godswill Akpabio there. Now, that was Senate President Godswill Akpabio arguing that, framing terrorism as a conflict between Christians and Muslims is misleading and, only deepens divisions among Nigerians. The motion sparked intense debate on Thursday as lawmakers weighed national security narratives against reports of targeted attacks on religious communities across various states. Well, Akpabio's comments, however, have garnered several reactions on social media, including Facebook, Instagram, and of course, X, formerly known as Twitter. And I'll start with an X post. This person wrote, Nigerians have been killed, both Christians and Muslims. This is a fact. However, it is unnecessary to constitute a delegation that would travel to the US to tell the full story. It is just another means to misappropriate taxpayers' funds. The truth will be told one day. Imagine Rufai Ayo, they want to send a delegation to the United States of America.
Is that not what they do?
Yes. And let me take another post that this person wrote. Don't forget that this same Senate screened and cleared someone who forged his certificate to be minister. Let's hope that their US counterparts will not tell them what for. What are you doing here? That's the question. Gradually, Nigeria will have external intervention since the internal ones have failed to yield results. And one of the comments Godswill Akpabio made about, IPOB and the Southeast killing Nigerians, which, also is a fact. And I'll take a reaction from Facebook. This person posted on Facebook saying, your opinion is acknowledged, but we have to set a boundary line between secessionists and jihadists. Once you know the root cause of this insecurity, you will realize the Christians suffering the crisis. Because, he also talked about the fact that, these terrorists, when they go out to bomb a community, do we go out to pick out the find out whether they're Christians or Muslims being bombed. But you also know that the Christian Association of Nigeria has also debunked the federal government's claim about whether or not, Christians are being killed and all of that. I'd like your thoughts. Let me start with you, Ayo, since I started with you, Rufai, about Godswill Akpabio even trying to send a delegation to the United States to, sit with them and let them know what really is going on. Because it also touched on how sanctions would affect Nigeria eventually if this happens.
I think that's the most, what Nigerians are worried about the most.
Correct.
Because of the consequence of being listed as a country of particular concern. And this is the highest condemnation by the United States on countries that are seen to not tolerate or promote religious freedom. Nigeria was listed or designated in 2020, and we're removed from that list in 2021. And, like you mentioned, it can bring economic sanctions, and some aids being pulled away from the country as a way to, serve as a measure to deter this. But let me talk about Senate President Akpabio, the uncommon senator, asking that he might put together a team of senators to go to America. For what exactly? Let the facts speak for themselves. Instead of spending Nigerians' hard-earned money and our resources to take our senators abroad, can we fix some of the challenges that he himself highlighted in trying to justify that it's not a religious targeted attack? He talked about issues around people being killed, citing the example of Professor Doya Akinyele's husband, very unfortunate one there. He talked about what happens in the Middle East and people being bombed. He talked about IPOB sit at home. These are real issues of concern, of security, whether or not they are religiously motivated. Can we sit down in our country and fix those issues rather than becoming a laughing stock in the world? And so a better solution would be for the Senate to come together and prefer or take a deep action, a specific action against violence and acts of terrorism in Nigeria against any Nigerian citizen. I think it's quite a shame as well, Oji, that it took the American Congress speaking about this, or people, whether it be the report that was done, to highlight how bad the security situation in Nigeria before we all begin to talk about trying to save the image of Nigeria and trying to talk about these issues when we already know that we have a problem in security in the nation. Please don't spend taxpayers' money going abroad. Let us fix the issues here and the facts will speak for themselves.
Well said, Ayo. Rufai, before I come to you, I'll take this so eventually you tie it both together. Well, in Abuja, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu posthumously granted pardons to two historical figures, the father of Nigerian nationalism, Herbert Macaulay, and former FCT minister, Major General Mamman Vasta, as part of a list of 175 people endorsed by the National Council of State on Thursday. Herbert Macaulay, despite his iconic status, was twice convicted by colonial authorities in 1913 and in 1928, while General Mamman Vasta was sentenced to death in 1986 by a secret military tribunal for an alleged coup plot against his friend, then President Ibrahim Babangida. Of the total pardons, 82 inmates received full pardons, 65 had reduced sentences, and 7 death row sentences were commuted to life in prison. Actions which Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani noted underscore the president's commitment to prison reform and justice. Rufai, over to you, and we are seeing that the president is really committed even to just all of these pardons and the awards that he has given only recently. He gave the Ogoni 9 as well as, Ken Saro-Wiwa as well as also the Kaduna General. We are seeing that the president is committed also to prison reforms like Uba Sani has said. And I'll come and sit with you so we can all discuss.
Okay. I mean, I think that's right on point, and the truth has to be said. I think it's right on point, to be able to give our national founding father, Herbert Macaulay, that kind of honor of pardon. But anyway, what he was being pardoned for is a dead law. Sedition is a dead law already. It doesn't exist again. I mean, it's pretty much the level of activism Herbert Macaulay did back in the days, and we all know what he did in the media space and the activism space and all of that. But the question is, and that's why we say it's even good to teach history, because how many of the youngsters today even know history? I had the opportunity once to actually go to the school Herbert Macaulay attended in the UK. It's not the University of Plymouth. Yes, that was, then it was a polytechnic where he attended. Nationalist, the Wizard of Kerstin Hall, as it was famously called, fought for the independence of this country. Was one of the first rebellious forces against the British. When the British had problems with Eshuba Yeleko, the King of Lagos then, as regards, water taxes and things like that, and he stood firm. And films have been made about Herbert Macaulay, but we don't tell the story enough. And Mamman Vatsa, we all know the tale, poet par excellence. I think Mamman Vatsa used to be a member of ANA, and the allegations of coup plot in Ibrahim Babangida's regime. But Babangida did write a lot about Mamman Vasta and what transpired around that period in his book. And the Ogoni, Ken Saro-Wiwa, you cannot forget that, and some other people involved in that. I mean, and I think, in all fairness to Tinubu, President Tinubu, he's tried to rewrite history and right some wrongs, especially around the Ogoni land and Ogoni area. You see, Oji, the other day, when I talk sometimes, when people say, Rufai, you are not this, you are that, I'm sorry to say this. In the end, I always win the arguments. You had somebody here on Sunday that was telling that Nigeria is an independent sovereign nation, that we should not go talk to America and everything. And I was making the point that America, that last year, 2024, you collected $784 million in aid, close to $1 billion in aid for. So you are saying that they can talk however they want. No, they rule the affairs of things because you collect their aid. Absolutely. Any man you collect money from, you are subject to that man. As long as you are collecting aid from the EU, forget it. Most of the, training for the electoral body, electoral NGOs, it's not the EU that is funding it. So these people will still have one, and that's why now our politicians have woken up to reality to say we should go and beg. You see, as regards that, let me now make the point. There's a movement of right-wing Christian nationalism going on in America, where they skew a lot of narratives around Christian nationalism and they look for pressure points to be able to push it. In fact, Open Door, the same agency that released the report that the likes of Bill Maher and Ted Cruz are now quoting, has been known to be in the vanguard of this. But it doesn't make it necessarily true. So what you do in this regard, and I would be shell-shocked that if Nigeria that collects a lot of aid does not have some level of lobbying that goes on in America, you don't need to send a contingent there. It's lobbyists that will do the work.
I mean, they can have a virtual meeting.
They can have a virtual meeting.
But all of that will be arranged by lobbying. So anything you're going to do there, they're not going to enjoy extra code and free hotel money. So it's lobbying that will now take over. But secondly, isn't it the shame on our country and our leadership that the Senate President is saying everybody suffers attack? Yes, we know. But you are the Senate President. You've not moved the motion that the President must solve the problem of insecurity once and for all. Isn't it a shame that even when it happens, it takes time before they even react? We had to be the one here to be shouting before President Tinubu went to Benue. When it happened in Jos, they didn't go. In fact, I heard that the police IG that went to Jos, he didn't even reach where the thing happened. He just went to the capital of Plateau.
You remember that the president actually challenged him there?
Yes.
That, what is the
So
problem?
look at, it is a shame that all this while, something has confounded us for all this while, and insecurity has continued to grow and grow and grow in our country.
At the end of the day,
and we call ourselves the giant of Africa. We churn out millions of barrels per day. We have Nobel laureates. We have so much intellectual people, but we can't solve our own insecurity problems. We still depend largely on aid by the Americans, and we say nobody can challenge our sovereignty. We have sovereignty for mouth as long as they are collecting aid money from those people.
I think the beginning of the solution
So let's wake up
to this insecurity terrorist act is when we see that our security forces are coming out with records of the people that they have killed. The people, the terrorists that name them. We want to see people that have been perpetrating this crime on a daily basis. Yes, kudos to the security forces, the military, DSS, but we need to see more of these people that have been perpetrating this crime on Nigerians. Well, still in Abuja. Angry retired police officers took to the National Assembly complex on Thursday to block all the entrances and exits to the premises in protest over what they described as years of neglect and injustice. According to the former members of the police force, the Nigerian government has refused to pay their pension and gratitudes and have abandoned the families of officers who have passed away and served their country faithfully. Activist Omoyele Sowore accompanied the retired police officers, demanding that the contributory pension scheme be scrapped. Let's take a look.
Police life matters.
Police life matters.
Police life matters.
Police life matters. No to Yahoo pension scheme. No to Ponzi. No to Ponzi pension scheme. The CPS is actually contributory Ponzi scheme. That's what it means. It's not any contributing police. It's Ponzi scheme. It's Ponzi. Because the people who are managing it are getting paid more than the people they take it from. That is fraud. Absolute fraud. You cannot take from people who have money, invest it, and get paid better salary than they get paid. It is not done anywhere in the world. That is why the CPS must be shut down. And yes, it must be shut down. Police must have the same kind of pension scheme as soldiers.
Omoyele Sowore has been on this matter for a while. He called it contributory Ponzi scheme. Well, this week's protest is one of many that have taken place involving retired police officers at the National Assembly. Earlier in the week on Tuesday, a number of wives of retired officers joined their spouses to protest at the National Assembly, calling out the hardship and humiliation they have endured. Well, in a welcoming development, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has just signed into law the Nigeria Police Training Institutions Establishment Bill, which translates to the creation of 48 training institutes for Nigeria's police force across the country. The goal is to institutionalize police education, promote professional development, and modernize the force to bring it up to speed with global best practices. The institutions will be spread across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones and categorized into 5 main groups, including police colleges, training technical and tactical schools, and other specialized institutions. Analysts say this could be one of the most transformative policing policies in recent years as the force leans into a technology and people-driven mandate. Kudos for this bill. I mean, this bill has been on the table, I believe, since 2019. It's good that, the president has signed it into law. But I think that the most important thing is what these retired police officers have been, pushing for, which is they want their money to be paid directly. They don't want to do this contributory pension scheme. I know it is difficult. I know we've talked about this for a while, but we cannot have people that have served our country faithfully out there protesting, crying that they want better treatment. Ayo.
While you're in service, problem.
Yes.
You finish, you retire, problem. This is the plight of the average policeman here in Nigeria. And this is why for years they've been making calls and concerted efforts to ensure that, like the military, the DSS, the NIA, who are no longer a part of the contributory pension scheme, they also have their own dedicated pension scheme under the Police Pension Board. There are many arguments, and we've had this talk around why, the CPS doesn't serve them. It's part of the Pensions Reform Act of 2004, which was repealed and made into the Pensions Reform Act of 2014. 2017. And, you know, contributory pension scheme is where the employer and employee contribute to pension, and then the money is invested and given at such a time when you retire. But there have been a number of complaints that have trailed this, and perhaps that's why the military, DSS, NIA are not a part of this, to ensure that their own pension scheme is properly managed. And so they make a good and you know, a legitimate cry that police officers are languishing, especially those who are retired. OG, also on the 7th of August, the president ordered the immediate payment of, you know, retirees who are low income earners and free healthcare for them. So he has made efforts as well in his own way to ensure the welfare and benefits of police officers. But these men have come out, and women have come out, to say that it's not near enough. They've been making this call for a very long time. I think it's time that the president himself looked into this, take on board their concerns and actually address them. It doesn't also give a good signal to to officers currently in service, because you work this hard for so long, money is taken out of your account every month saying that it's part of your contributory pension scheme, and then at the end of the day you have almost nothing to show for it. It's not encouraging, and that's why when we keep accusing the police of being corrupt in some quarters, we also need to understand the plight of the police and speak up for their welfare. And this is part of what the young people were fighting for during NSAS. It wasn't just about, they were also asking for police reform. It is high time we had police reform here in Nigeria, so that we have a better welfare for our police officers. These are the people that you arm and ask to go to the streets to protect lives and property, and you're not treating them well. It is not a good thing for the Nigerian citizens. We're putting a care of people who are angry, who are upset, and who are not treated fairly. It is unfair and it has to stop.
Thank you. You know I'm a Molopa.
Yes. After you sweat and slave, you'll be going to beg for pension. It's not fair.
That's well said, Ayo. Very well said. Let's take the story now from Enugu State, where students of the Faculty of Health Sciences and Technology at the University of Nigeria Enugu campus trooped out on Monday in protest against a compulsory 30,000 development levy imposed by the faculty. The protesters blocked the university entrance, chanting, "We no go pay," and carrying placards describing the charge as daylight extortion. The students accused the faculty dean, Professor Ijeoma Okoronkwo, of introducing the levy, and alleged affected students were barred from writing exams, which triggered the demonstrations. Let's take a look.
So every single one of us, we are currently marching to this office, all of us, elite nurses, 027. You can see also, we came to write the exam this morning, and then they said that we will not write this exam because of 30K developmental fee. There's already in our school fees after we failed. So you can see also, all of us, we are here. We are marching to this office now to tell him that we came to write the exam, and then they are preventing us from writing the exam.
Now inside fire, them put us. I'm gonna go all kulu, them they kill us. You can imprison my body, but you don't go fit to capture my soul.
Well, this comes as the Students' Union at the Federal University of Petroleum Resources, Ephraim Delta State, say their school is still closed right now after protests over an alleged tuition hike, and despite the union's request to open the school, there are no known plans to do so. Students have also demanded that the institution presents the fees for the upcoming year. I mean, Rufai, we're seeing our students here saying, you know, this tuition hike is coming at a very wrong time. I mean, your thoughts on both stories together?
Oji, this tuition fee is coming at a time where you've devalued the lives of people. You've devalued their currency. Their currency is worth nothing. They're dealing with over 20%, about 20% inflation. So 30,000 naira, that's close to half of the minimum wage. How are they going to be able to pay that? That conversation also segues around FUPRI. So they will rebel. You say they should go and take student leave. If they take student leave, that's another debt for them until they start working. You're talking about the police. The problem is not about pension. The problem is how much the police officers are earning. Oji, the IG of police in this country, I'm not sure it earns up to 1.52 million naira a month as his basic salary. So if the IG earns 1.5 or 2 million, peradventure, I'm not sure he earns up to that. If he earns up to 1.52 million, and you remove how many percent? 7% contribution. Calculate 7% over here. Even if he works for 30, and he can't be IG, he can't be IG for more than 2-3 years. He's been working all these years. If you accumulate that money, the IG, if he's to go by what he's earning, he will suffer in retirement.
Right.
But you see, the truth has to be said. It is the amount they are paying them that is the problem. It is the fact that we live in a low-wage society and we have low disposable income occasioned by high inflation. food cost and the likes. About 40% of your spendings are already taken by food, minus rent if you live in urban areas. So it's an economic malaise. This is just a symptom. More will happen.
Well, protests are great. I mean, this is why we are bringing these stories out here for the advocacy. The school in Delta, the school in Nsukka would like for them to come together and, help those students out. We need our students to go to school. Now to our milestone. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has paid tribute to one of Nigeria's most distinguished public servants, Dr. Christopher Kolade, who passed away at the age of 92. Dr. Christopher was born on December 28, 1932. In a statement from the State House, President Tinubu described Dr. Kolade as one of Nigeria's intellectual treasures, a man who was exceptionally brilliant, statesmanly, and possessed unimpeachable integrity. Dr. Kolade's legacy extends far beyond words, from Director General of the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation to Nigeria's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, from Chief Executive and Chairman of Cadbury Nigeria PLC to principal figure at the Lagos Business School. Dr. Kolade left what the President called ineffaceable stamps of distinction in every role. Through the Christopher Kolade Foundation, Dr. Kolade devoted considerable resources to supporting sickle cell patients, turning personal success into public service.
I have a country in which we're finding that it is not easy for the young generation to come into ownership of responsibility because the system is not encouraging them to do so.
Well, tributes have poured in from across the nation. Former Commonwealth Secretary General Chief Emeka Anyaoku described Dr. Kolade's passing as the loss of an Iroko in its limited forest of public servants and impeccable integrity. In a touching personal note, Chief Anyaoku recalled how they often bantered about the 3 weeks between their birthdays. Today, as Nigeria mourns Dr. Christopher Olushola Kolade, CON, we at Arise News reflect on a life extraordinarily well-lived, 92 years of impact, decades of distinguished service, and a legacy of integrity that would inspire generations. Our thoughts are with his wife, Beatrice, and the entire Kolade family. May his soul rest in perfect peace. More on our milestones. The National Council of States has unanimously approved the nomination of Professor Joash Ojo Amupiton, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, from the North Central as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. This historic appointment makes him the first person from Kogi State to occupy this critical position. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu presented Amupitan as the nominee to fill the vacant position following Professor Mahmood Yakubu's exit, who served from 2015 until October 2025. The president emphasized to the council that Amupitan is apolitical and represents a milestone for North Central representation in this crucial role. Council members unanimously supported the nomination, with Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo describing Amupitan as a man of integrity. Professor Amupitan is 58 years old and brings impressive credentials as a professor of law at the University of Jos, where he currently serves as Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration. He specializes in company law, law of evidence, corporate governance, and privatization law, and became a senior advocate of Nigeria in September 2014. His academic journey spans decades, beginning in 1989 after his National Youth Service at the Bauchi State Publishing Corporation. He earned his LLM in 1993 and PhD in 2007 from the University of Jos.
Mr. President today recommended to Council of State Professor Joash O. Amupitan. Joash is a professor of law, as a matter of fact, also a professor of evidence. is a highly respected scholar with impeccable credentials, and on the presentation of his name, Council unanimously approved and consented to the recommendation for his appointment.
Let's take a look at this headline from Arise TV on Twitter Space. It says, Akpabio moves to send delegates to the United States over religious sanctions. Hey, so they are afraid, they are worried, they are panicking. It says, Senate President Godswill Akpabio has cautioned against framing Nigeria's security crisis as a conflict targeting Christians, arguing during Thursday's plenary that terrorists and bandits strike citizens indiscriminately, regardless of their faith. Akpabio proposed sending a delegate of lawmakers to the United States to engage with Americans and educate them on the actual nature of the Nigeria's challenge. Watch the trending. Now, this is Ojope speaking to that. Now, let's see some of the reactions from Nigerians. Maybe they said they say it's not true. Now it's becoming the reality on ground. Let me take you through some of the reactions from Nigerians. Now, this person say, let's go out there and educate about religion of the people who are killed in Nigeria. Let us not sit down and solve the problem of insecurity and safeguard life and property. It's more important to educate people about the killing than to solve the killing. You see, they want to go to the United States to go and convince the United States government, instead of them to channel that energy to finding out who are these Fulani headsmen that come into Nigeria, displaced communities, kill Christians. There is no way, there's no denial in this. Go to Benue State, you see IDP camps everywhere. You go to so many places, there are many IDP camps. We have a whole lot of them. And this Senate is sitting like, let's say, every day. Nobody is talking about these IDPs. So I think they should just channel their energy to addressing, all this, not just coming out to begin to say you are going to the United States. This one, again, is to go and spend taxpayers' money. Now, this person said, Tinubu should go to the United States himself and clear the air, not waste taxpayers' money sending delegates. Akpabio should focus on electoral reform, constitutional amendment, and restoring Nigeria's faith in democracy, not foreign PR tours. We need accountability, not delegation. I think this guy just nailed it. Another person here said, the best, easiest, and most efficient was to pass a message to the United States Congress. In my view, is for the killing of anybody, both Christians and Muslims, to stop and all the IDPs return to their homes. That's exactly what I've just said now. They are not even making any attempts to ensure, that Christians, or let me say those in the IDP camps, return to their initial homes. Now, this person posted a tweet from somebody. Now, let me read that tweet. That tweet says, most Muslims, the Sultan inclusive, would rather deny a Christian genocide than condemn the killing of Muslims. Now that Khan has spoken and confirmed there is genocide of Christians in Nigeria, I expect the Sultan of Sokoto to also speak and confirm the killing of Muslims. Okay, these people are saying, that Khan has finally come out to confirm that there is genocide. Possibly that is why Akpabio is trying to send these people. And then the Northerners are saying that the Sultan should also come out to confirm that their own people are also being killed. Senator Shehu Sani says, since 1999, every government has its own share of experience with the killing in Plateau State. After the corpses are buried, money is donated to the widows, orphans, and the displaced victims, they wait for the next round of massacre. You see, a state richly endowed and uniquely gifted and graced by nature has been successfully turned into a perennial killing field. Plateau is paradox of a state blessed with everything, cursed with conflict. The soil of Plateau can grow any seed, but it must grow the seed of peace first. This is Shehu Sani's post last month, September 13th. And there's another post here. This was in April 8, 2025, coming from the governor of Plateau State. He said, Plateau killing, nothing but sponsored genocide, says Governor Mutwan. He's saying that it is sponsored. Hey, so Nigerians are going back to pick up some of these, some of these headlines. So why is the Tinubu's government now suddenly waking up to go to the United States to say they are going there to tell them that Christians are not being killed? In short, there are a lot of evidence in all this that they cannot even deny it. Where are they going to start? Where? Anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification. Thank you.